Today in Richard is Forgetful, I'm taking a look at my brother QL800 and labeling everything in my house. What I'm discussing today here is using a thermal printer in order to label around the house, specifically the QL800 for myself. I was able to pick this up for about $60, maybe 10 months back. There's other models, there's older models like the QL500, which uses the same paper. There's also wireless and I believe Bluetooth variants, but for my purpose, the USB version is perfectly acceptable and works just fine. When I bought the printer about 10 months ago, I thought I'd be the smart consumer and buy a third-party paper for it. It takes special paper that is thermally active so that that's how it's printed, similar to a receipt printer. And I went on eBay and I bought 600 feet for something like $20 or $30 compared to the normal price of Brother Media, which is about a little bit less than $20 for 100 feet. Now the problem that I've found is that the third-party media, so mine specifically was from labels123.net, while it prints reasonably well, it actually peels off. So I pasted or stuck these onto my laptop as a test piece, and within a week these were peeling off very easily. Meanwhile, the Brother is just far superior adhesive. So if you are in the market, oh, I'm gonna regret that. So yeah, if you're in the market and you're a homeowner or you're just kind of like using this as a hobby, just don't even bother with third-party stuff because it is really cheap. If you're printing hundreds of labels a month, maybe it's useful, but it took me about 8 months in order to get through 100 feet of the cheap stuff, even when I'm using it a lot. Now I have to figure out how to get that label off my laptop or leave it there forever. When it does come to the cheap labels, it does appear that it prints in a very similar fashion. So that is the cheap label. These two labels I actually left on my truck's dashboard for 2 or 3 weeks, and they have a similar degree of fading compared to the original. What is happening here is that thermal labels are UV sensitive, and even though the truck window, it's got silica glass, it still lets about like 1 to 2% of UV light through. So over the course of a few weeks, you'll get this fading. I believe the Brother one is curling more because of the superior adhesive. It's going to try to tension it, but that's just a hypothesis. So if you're buying these just for labeling and not for sticking, the cheap ones work fine. Or if you have a very specific use case like this, what would this be? PET, or maybe that's a smooth plastic. The cheap labels also work well. But in that case, you're probably running a business, you're going through a lot of labels, and you have the time to experiment with different vendors. One of the most basic functionalities that I've used this for is just trying to stay organized with the internet connectivity. So I spent a few hours this week cleaning up all my required, maybe not required, but internet infrastructure. So the router, the, I don't even know what that is. It's like a modem effectively that takes the coax and goes into Cat5. Switch. This is my home automation and my solar adapter. Ooh, we can see here, there's actually pre-built functionality in the Brother software for printing labels that allows you to do flags or a wrap. And that's really slick. Now, because I like saving money, I still have 600 feet or 500 feet of cheap label. I try to do the same thing over here with the flags and with the wrap. The wrap's back here. But again, the cheap paper is just coming apart pretty bad. So I need to go through and use the name brand paper to redo all those flags. Extending this video into the concept of organization, I've actually bought a flat filing cabinet and I've used the label maker to try to document where everything is and have like a cookie crumb. So for example, in this drawer, I've got my quadcopter labeled. And here, what I like about the flat filing cabinet is that you can keep everything relatively flat and you can see everything at once without digging into the contents of the cabinet. However, there's definitely things that don't fit within 2 inches. So for example, with the quadcopter, I actually left myself a little note where I can check and see that I've got a second quad, the EX105, and my FPV goggles. They're both in the northeast shelf, box 02A. So in my house, this is the northeast corner. I labeled the shelf northeast, and then this is specifically shelf number 2, and this is box 2A. If I came here directly, I could have just looked on the box for more labels. Labels all the way down. Not everything is contained inside the flat filing cabinet. So what I have done is I track, come on, with a spreadsheet. So here, this is just a Google sheet where I have item description. I really should do a screen capture, but anybody should get the idea where it's just a quick lookup table of item description. I have a broad category to help me kind of stay organized, but that's not critical. And then a specific location. And so I can do a quick search. Oh, and the date. Date is also important so that I know how relevant the it's up to date, because things do walk away still, even though I'm trying to stay organized. But I can do a search, and let's say I want sandpaper. Sandpaper. So I do have a line item for sandpaper, which is under the garage shelf 05 Bravo. So you can come into the garage and turn on the lights. And now another set of shelves. This is the garage shelf. Numbering from top down, so top is 1, bottom is 5. So we said 05 Bravo. All of the boxes are labeled. This is 05. And here is some of my woodworking equipment. And if I was looking for sandpaper, I would actually have to dig for it. Oh, there it is. Sandpaper. Ta-da! Even outside of being organized, I do find myself using the printer for just random stuff like grocery lists. And then, for example, it's fun to print really big stuff. This is not a shelf, in case you were wondering. I actually, to segue, I had trouble printing these stickers. If you notice, this is super skinny, and that's because LibreOffice struggles formatting things that are really big for this printer. So now I just use the Brother software that comes with it. Don't even bother using a third-party printer app. And unfortunately, that means Linux support is not guaranteed. This, I can talk about this cabinet to close off. Before I bought the flat filing cabinet, because they're quite expensive, I was waiting for it to pop up on Craigslist. I actually tried to build one myself, and now it's on garage duty, and it works quite well. I still have the labels. They don't adhere the best to wood, but it works. And the idea here is that I can pull these drawers out and have a whole project ready to go. So for example, let's say I want to work, I'm working on the car and I need some of the spare parts that I have been storing. So I'll set this down. Come where it's labeled Cruise or Ranger for the 2 vehicles. And that's why this is not a shelf. And now I have my assortment of collection. Instead of going into the drawer directly, I throw it down, and either I can quickly see everything, or I can just jump on a project. If I left everything there overnight, I can use the spare drawers as a holding place for disassembly or really anything I need that's 2 inches deep. I actually like this cabinet a little bit better than the flat filing one because it is a little bit deeper, and I made it myself. And that concludes another garbage video. See what I did there? It's play on words. Garbage man. His eyes are a label.